Hey, Scott from mygrowthrings.com here. Here, once again, happens to be my garage shop. And welcome to our midweek episode of what we like to call, at least what I like to call, Stumped Q&A. This is where I address your questions, comments, and cheap shots and fill in some of the things I forgot to mention. In this case, we were in the process of stripping the rust off of this old jointer. And what I wanted to follow up with today is to show you how I like to apply polyurethane on bare cast iron. Now, I don't just brush polyurethane on, there's more to it than that. But the problem is, it's been raining all day and it's going to be raining for the next several days. So if I'm being honest about this, it's a horrible time to apply polyurethane to anything, let alone to something that isn't even supposed to go on, which is metal. So we're gonna have to put that off to this coming weekend. But in the meantime, we still have some questions to answer. Let's get to those. And I do have some things I do want to share with you. And before I get to that, I will say, and I'm holding this so I can put this darn thing down. I talked about a product called Bow Shield T9. I didn't mention it by name, but I had it pictured. I said Bow Shield. That's basically a spray wax that I have used successfully, primarily on the way tubes. That's the tubes that the headstock and the carriage run on. Also the table tubes, and a few other places on my Shopsmith back at my shop. Um, I don't use it for everything, but it works very well. Um, I can't find mine, so I went to find it, only to find that there are actually more products, including this one right here, called Rust Free. And actually, the timing was really good on this because when I got done with this this weekend, I realized there were a few spots that still had stains. Wasn't really bothering me all that much, but when I realized that this stuff is a rust and stain remover, I thought it's worth a try. So we're gonna use this tonight. Okay, so before we're done here, we're gonna come back to that. Okay, give you something to watch. Also, I showed you my plan was to use polyurethane, as I always do. I dilute this with paint thinner. So one of the questions, who had the question? I said Glenn. Glenn asked if the paint thinner leaves a residue that might make it difficult for the paste wax to stick. It does leave a residue. However, Johnson's paste wax, which is the wax that I use, and most oil-based polyurethanes use mineral spirits as the solvent. So if I have mineral spirits on this surface and I use the polyurethane or I use Johnson's paste wax, not a problem. There's no incompatibility at all. However, since I did my video, I have watched a number of other videos on YouTube and read a few articles that realize that I'm not alone in putting polyurethane on my cast iron. I thought that I was the only person on the planet that did that. Come to find out, several people have. And one product that has been highly recommended is a water-based polyurethane. So I bought some of that too. And this is not compatible with paint thinner. So what we're going to have to do this weekend is get it cleaned off. Right now it has kind of a coating of WD-40 on it. Thank goodness with the humidity. But we'll have to get that cleaned off, and then we're going to use lacquer thinner. At least that's my solvent of choice for getting rid of that. You could use acetone, but if you didn't know this, lacquer thinner contains acetone and a few other herbs and spices that that I like, and it dries quickly and leaves us no film. So that's what we'll do this weekend. And just for fun, we're going to apply oil-based and water-based polyurethane to this. And so more to come on that. I was really hoping to do that tonight. Let's see. So Brian asked, how do you tension the old style of Shopsmith jointer guard? I pulled off of this the other day, this, what's called a feather guard, which Shopsmith patented, and it does a wonderful job, not just of keeping the cutter head covered, but also helping to apply pressure against the fence. But prior to that, there were actually two previous guards. There was a guard, the original one, aluminum, looked like a big old pork chop, and it just had a hex-shaped shaft on it, that would just fit down into this hexagonal shaped hole that's broached into the table. On the original version from the 1950s, it had another one here on the outfeed table as well. The idea behind that was if you had your fence close to the front edge, close to the rabbiting ledge here, let's say, for example, you were rabbiting, uh, you've now exposed the cutter head on the backside. So you would move your guard away from the front where it's in the way for that operation and go ahead and move it over to the back. Clever. Um, then Shopsmith came up with this retrofit right here. There's a little sheet metal hinged guard so that no matter where that fence is, the cutter head on the backside is covered. So they eliminated then the need to be able to move that to the backside, and they made the front one bolted in place. So now that same hexagonal shape had a threaded stud on the bottom, and you would install that with a washer and a nut. That is what was replaced with the aluminum guard. Now, there are two ways of tensioning. The easiest way is just remove the fence, which you saw how we do that. We just pull the little captured wrench back, loosen it, and then slide the fence off like that. Okay. And then with that off, you press your guard in or put the guard in and lock it in place with the washer and my words, washer and nuts, and then you're going to wind the spring. So you wind the spring and you take it counterclockwise one turn, and maybe if you plan it right, you get 1.5 turns on it. So you start with the guard facing that way, put it in, and then you can wind it half a turn and then a full another turn. That's what I would advise you to do. And then while holding that in place with your third hand, you then slide the fence back in place, and that would hold that all in place. Okay, it just depends upon what version you have. Chad pointed out that in a coincidence, Nick Engler, one of the guys who I'm a fan of, we used to work at Shopsmith together, and then he branched out on his own and wrote a series of a number of great books. He's become active here on YouTube again with a new channel. I'll put some links in the doobly-doo in the description box for you to some of his books and also to his channel. You should check him out. Anyway, he happened to post a video on how to prevent rust. His video is excellent. Covers a bunch of things. Does not cover polyurethaning, so but I recommend you check that out if you're dealing with rust. Let's see. Also, question: can't you use a DA sander? Yes, you could use a DA sander. You could use a random orbit sander, any kind of powered sander except for a belt sander with superfine abrasives. What do I mean by that? I wouldn't use less than like let's say 400 grit. Right? You don't need to get aggressive with it. I don't happen to have a DA sander here in my shop, so that's probably the reason why I didn't use it. Ella says, my joiner isn't rusted, but it has darkened. Does it need to be cleaned? If you want to clean it, yeah. I mean, if boards are sliding across it freely, it doesn't matter what it looks like. However, there's something to be said for that shiny cast iron in and of itself helps to defend it from rust. So you do as you like, Ellis, but just be sure you wax it for sure. Glenn, oh, we already answered that question. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to pull the fence back off, and let's try this rust stain remover and see what happens. Okay, I think I just lost all that footage. It happens. Okay, so what I did was I applied the rust-free to remove the few stains that remained. It actually does look better, but immediately it became kind of a hazy look. It wasn't quite a mirror finish. So I've rebuffed it with WD-40, and we're back to where we were when we started. So again, this weekend we're going to get this thing with the coating that I've promised you. I think that you'll find it interesting, and thanks for making the best of it with me here. All right, we'll see you then. Make it a great week.